Have you ever had your Amazon KDP account suspended out of nowhere? That happened to me, and it was a nightmare. Let's talk about it. If you're new around these parts, hi, my name is Kay Hill. Welcome, or welcome back if you've been here before. In this video, I'm going to share my traumatic experience with Amazon KDP, how my account was suspended, how I handled it. So I've been on Amazon KDP for a while. It's probably been about a year now or so. Roughly, I would have to go back and check my records, but I think it's been about a year. And so far, I've published about 15 titles. And they've been plugging along, gaining traction slowly. It's been a slow ride, I'll admit. Not going as fast as I had hoped, but still picking up a little bit of speed. And all of a sudden, I go into my Amazon KDP account because I'm in the process of building out another title. I've published books in the adult coloring and activity space, and so I'm getting ready to publish another title, and I get an email saying that my account is being flagged for trademark infringement, and I need to respond right away and fix it right away. And I don't even know what they're talking about. None of my books infringe on anybody else's trademark. I have a background in licensing and merchandising, so I'm familiar with that space. So I know I'm not going to put out a Disney product. I'm not going to, reference Nike or anything like that. I don't do that. So I'm trying to think to myself, what could they possibly be talking about? So I respond, I think this is a mistake. My books don't infringe on anybody's trademark. What are you talking about, basically? And so I get a canned response back. So of course, immediately I'm frustrated because first of all, you're going to tell me that I'm infringing on something, but you won't even tell me what I'm infringing on. And you send me a canned response, a canned reply. So I want to go into panic mode, but I try to keep calm. And I respond again, basically with the same thing, saying, I'm not infringing on anybody's trademark. Can you be more specific? I finally get a reply back that says, I infringed on the Swatch watch brand. Now, you guys, I make coloring books. And in turn, I make color swatch books. A color swatch, actually, let's look it up real quick. I'm going to give you the exact definition. All right, so if you type in swatch definition, it says, noun, a small sample of fabric intended to demonstrate the look of a larger piece. Or as a verb, apply a sample of paint, makeup, etc. to a surface of one's skin to test or demonstrate the color. So clearly, a color swatch, a swatch of color, is something totally different than the swatch watch. Now, if you're familiar with trademarks, everybody is not. I understand that. But if you're familiar with trademark registration, you register your trademark in a category. You have to specify what this term is in a specific category. So if I want to register the term swatch as it applies to my watches, I'm going to register that trademark in the jewelry category, in the watch category. It does not mean that the term swatch is mine across the whole board, okay? That's number one. Number two, the word swatch already exists. And another thing about trademarks is that your name cannot be close to another name that exists to the trademark that might cause confusion to the consumer in that category, which makes sense. If I were making Swatches watches, I couldn't do that because that's too close to the trademark Swatch watch, which already exists in that category. But if I wanted to do Swatches bed and decor, that's a completely different category, and the two do not cross. So I would be able to register Swatches bed and decor, but not Swatches watches. You see what I'm saying? I do have to give a disclaimer. I'm not a lawyer. This is just based on my experience with licensing and merchandising, my experience publishing, my experience um, putting things out in the market. But however, I do know that you register a trademark in a specific category. So where were we? We were talking about the categories that trademarks are registered in. Okay, so because of that, I knew I wasn't in the wrong. I'm not in the jewelry category. I'm not in the watch category. The reference that I make on my books is nowhere even remotely confusing to the Swatch trademark. So I reply. I reply to Amazon and I say, there's a misunderstanding. The two are in completely different categories. They're not even related. Plus, the word Swatch is not owned by the Swatch watch brand. That is a normal word in public domain. Hush. That's a normal word in the public domain. It means something completely different. And so I asked for this situation to be escalated to a supervisor because I suspected from all of the automated responses that I was getting and kind of like the brief, when it was a real person, it was like redundancy, a lot of redundancy, saying the same thing and not really addressing the questions that I was asking in my emails. I said, can this be escalated? Please escalate this to a supervisor, someone familiar with U.S. trademarks. They will understand what I'm explaining. And yes, I'm making the assumption that this is being filtered by overseas people because of the way that I was being communicated with. It was a mix. To me, it felt like a mix of bots with the automated responses plus overseas kind of customer service people. And so ultimately, I was trying to get to a human in the US because they would know, they would be able to figure it out. So I'm waiting, and then I get a gentleman. After that time, I started to get a response from a consistent person. One gentleman, he was asking because in the meantime, I get two paths of responses. One one lane says your account is temporarily suspended. I go to log into my KDP, I can't access anything, just bold suspension. You've been suspended. Then I get another lane of emails that say, we need 5 more days to investigate this further. So I stopped with this path of emails and I kept going on this path of emails. So once I got Christopher, I was like, this seems like I'm actually talking to a human now. So let me keep talking to him. And so I took some time to calm down because my emails were starting to get heated. I felt it. I felt it. And again, like this is Amazon, the behemoth that Amazon is. And unfortunately, all of my books are on Amazon, which is something that I do not recommend. Going forward, that is the lesson that I'm taking away from this. Not to have all your eggs in one basket. Amazon is great. Amazon is wonderful. It has afforded us so much, like everyday people, access to so much opportunity. However, you're definitely at their mercy. And that's not a good position to be in when it comes to intellectual property that you have built, you have created, because that is your intellectual property as well. But let me not get off track here. So I kept communicating with Chris, and I said, my last email after I had a chance to calm down, I said, thank you for your response. I'm sure this is just a misunderstanding because I had given them proof. They kept asking me for proof that I had, excuse me, I had the right to use the trademark term Swatch. And my position was I don't need proof. First of all, I don't have proof because I'm not using the trademark Swatch watch, right? What's the word I'm looking for? Dang, now that's going to bother me. Their intellectual footing in the marketplace. I'm talking about color swatches. So the proof that I gave them was the actual definition of the term swatch, which means a swatch of color, a piece, a sample of color. Then I also gave them, I took a snapshot of Swatch Watch trademark, which clearly states in the jewelry category, in the watch category. That's where they hold the trademark term to the term. Then I also provided search results from Amazon. If you put in color swatch books, you'll see the list of books that also have the word swatch in the title. So I felt like I was being singled out by an overzealous bot of some sort. So I said, I'm sure this is just a misunderstanding. I look forward to the results of your further investigation. So it's like days go by and then Chris keeps checking in. I'm sorry, we need a few more days. I'm sorry, we need a few more days. This happened about 2-3 times, a good 2-3 times. So I decided I'm just going to kick back and I'm going to wait. And that patience paid off because for me being persistent and insisting that I get, keep going until I get to a real person, I think that was what made it turn out successful. They did actually further investigate it, which I want to give Amazon KDP credit for, because if I've been on the other side on Amazon FBA and you don't get that kind of consideration. I actually gave up on Amazon FBA because I got so frustrated with trying to deal with their customer service in terms of seller responses. You just get an endless loop of automated responses. It's really ridiculous. But Amazon KDP, different department, different division. It does take a little bit of pushing, but you do end up, getting to speak to a real person, in my opinion. And so the outcome was that my account was restored and now I'm back to selling. But the lesson is learned that you need to have a backup plan, especially when you're dealing with a big company where you're on their platform and what they say goes. And that goes for Amazon, that goes for Etsy. And you could really say the other platforms as well if you sell on Shopify or whatever. If you have email marketing and you're on Klaviyo or ConvertKit or whatever, you're playing in their sandbox. So you always have to be prepared to be able to pivot in case something goes wrong, something goes awry. And so in this case, it all worked out. I'm back on Amazon with my books and my collections, but it does let me know that it's time to investigate and prepare to. Bentley, hush, hush. Sorry. He gonna make me lose my train of thought. You always want to have a backup. And so in this case, I'll probably, Bentley, hush, hush. So in this case, I'll probably pursue other publishing platforms as well as a backup. If you've had any issues with Amazon KDP, go ahead and leave it in the comments below, and so we can share that collective wisdom. Maybe there's some strategies that you use that were successful for you, or maybe you're still having trouble, and maybe folks in the comments. If I have any advice, I will be glad to share it. If other people in the comments have advice of what worked successfully for them, they can share it as well. And if you have any questions about Amazon KDP in general, leave it in the comments and I can do a video on that as well. So anywho, until next time, keep pushing and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.